Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the Book that he's read this week. So what's the old guy read this week? Well, the book I've read this week is this one. It's called It Should Have Been You by author Andrea Mara. It was published as a hardback here in the United Kingdom on the 8th of May 2025 by Bantam. It's the author's 8th book. I suppose the top level description is a modern psychological thriller. Certainly the author's previous two books, Someone in the Attic, No One Saw a Thing, were very well received. So I haven't reviewed any of Andrea's books here on the channel before, but was aware of the author and thought, time for a review. And I'm glad I did. I enjoyed it. Anyway, less of the waffle, Cliff, I hear you say. What's it all about? Central character in this book is called Susan O'Donnell. Susan's a teacher, but currently she's at home with a 4-month-old daughter, Bella. She's on maternity leave. And like all new mums with 4 months old, Susan's finding it a bit of a slog. She's had a few problems with Bella, but now she's getting into a bit of a routine. But as with all 4-month-old, you don't get a lot of sleep. So Susan's feeling just a little bit, frazzled. Her husband John works as a banker, but Susan's at home with her 4-month-old. The good thing is that she's got a very close relationship with her sisters, Greta and Lisa, and they both live very nearby. In fact, one right next to her. So she's got them for support, and she's grateful of their support. So Susan lives and John live in, and Bella, of course, live in an estate called Oak Park. It's a newish estate. And Susan's a member of a WhatsApp group for the entire Oak Park estate, where people post things that they need help with and just general and a neighbourly community WhatsApp group. She's also in a WhatsApp group with the two sisters where they're very close and they share all sorts of things. So one day, Susan, just innocently, tired Susan, who's not getting a whole lot of sleep, just innocently posts a thank you to a message on the Oak Park community WhatsApp group, and very quickly followed by a WhatsApp message from a lady called Celeste. That's Celeste Geary. Celeste is like the queen bee of Oak Park. She lives in one of the bigger 5-bedroom houses. She has a very important job in banking. She has a team in New York. Hardly took any time off when her children were born, and is a career woman, and basically thinks she runs the joint. So Celeste posts a general message saying, "Oh, this is a big group. There's 300 odd people in it. Don't post thank you every time that somebody posts something, because otherwise, it'll just be thank you upon thank you." Susan sees a little bit red here, and she's thinking, "Oh, typical Celeste. She's not even the admin of the group, and she's telling everybody what to do." So Susan fires off, a tired and irritable Susan fires off a message to her two sisters in their WhatsApp group, Greta and Lisa, in which she mentions that Celeste is a bit too big for her boots. It's all very well, but what about her husband? We all know about that time he had a fling with the PR girl at that bar launch, and P.S. her two kids are supposed to be whiter than white. The daughter's certainly not whiter than white. She's got a boyfriend that nobody knows about, and P.S. her son. Well, we all know about him. He's the world's worst babysitter. So that message she sends off to her sisters, and she thinks, "Well, got that off my chest." Very soon, her phone's pinging like mad. She's got a message from Greta, her sister, saying, "Delete, delete, delete." And she's thinking, what's going on? And then she suddenly realises that the message she sent that she thought was going to her sister, which is basically slagging off Celeste and her family, has gone to the entire Oak Park WhatsApp group. It's gone to the community group. She quickly deletes it, but of course, by then the pile-on has started. People defending Celeste, the "I'm offended by this, whatever it is" brigade. People have screenshotted it and shared it with Facebook, and she's like, "Oh, what have I done? It's a foolish mistake." And she thought, "Well, I'm probably going to have to apologise to Celeste, but just at the moment, I just want to run away and hide." Her husband John comes home from work, And she explains what's happened to him, and he's saying, look, don't panic. These things will blow over. Tomorrow it'll be something else they're getting agitated about. And she sort of thinks that's all right. So she goes off to have a shower, gives the baby to John, and says, right, I just need a break from this malarkey. Things she hopes will quieten down, and then she gets a death threat. And thinking, hang on, this isn't good. Next day, there's even more distressing news that is on the local news. There have been 3 murders in South Dublin. A man and a woman in Waterview, an estate, the other side of town, and a woman in Oak Park. That's where they live. And all of a sudden, she's thinking, what on earth's going on? And it turns out that people think it's her, Susan, that's been murdered. And she's thinking, well, no, I'm not. And then she suddenly realises that there is another estate, the other side of Dublin, called Oak Park. And she lives at 26 Oak Park, Susan and John and Bella. But she's had parcels for another person who lives at Oak Park, the other Oak Park. And similarly, they've had their parcels. So so she's aware that there's another 26 Oak Park. And she reads about this murder and thinks, hang on a minute, I had a death threat the other night, and P.S. we also had a brick through our window. Were they after me? And hence the title of the book, It Should Have Been You. So we then get into a twisty, windy thriller where Susan is trying to find out what on earth's going on. Was she the intended victim of the murder? And P.S., are these other 2 people that have been murdered, are they connected? Well, I don't think it's giving too much of the plot away to say there is a connection. So we have a whole bunch of people here who have got secrets, and there is a lot of deceit, a lot of lies, and Susan's trying to plough her way through to find out what's going on here and who the perpetrators are. Obviously, the Garda, the local police are involved, and they're trying to find out what's going on. And it turns out a lot of the people on the Oak Park estate have got secrets. We've got Celeste and her family, her husband and the 2 children. We've even got Susan's sisters. They've got things, and their children have got things going on, and there are things that have gone on that we don't know about. So it's a very well-written, twisty psychological thriller where we're trying to get to the reason why these people have been murdered. And P.S., is Susan in danger? So short, sharp, punchy chapters, well written, good characters. I really enjoyed it. And what I liked most was that there's not a lot of fluff here. It's straight to it. It's you hear people say, I couldn't really put it down. I didn't want to put this down. I read it in 2 sessions. It's 379 pages, but it's a really good modern day psychological thriller. Well written, good characters, as I said, and just it's a modern day malaise, I guess. We see what happens when a social media post goes wrong and there's an absolute pile-on, and how that affects people in their day-to-day lives. And not only do we see the problem with Susan and the misplaced WhatsApp message, but we hear about the teenagers that are on Snapchat and the teenagers having problems with social media and people taking sides and ganging up on social media. So I guess it's a tale of our time, that whilst we all appreciate that social media can be a really good thing in helping us keep up with our family and our friends, it also can be a curse as well as a blessing. So really enjoyed it. Good psychological thriller. I'd give it 7 out of 10. It's well worth a read. As I said, 379 pages. Go get it. I think that's it for this week's brief book review. 10/10. Do we do it again? Thanks for watching.